What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongols. This is our Riverhounds reaction show where we're going to talk all about everything that's happened, not just as the Hounds played Phoenix this past week, but everything that went on leading up to this. I am Mike Sparks. Joining me is Steve Mattias and Josh Brokaw. Gentlemen, it was a very big week. Steve, you were unable to join us at the game because of a big event that was happening in a friend's life. What was going on this weekend?
Yeah. So, I mean, before that, Rory had to get a tooth pulled. So that kind of started the week. And he spent 3.5 days sleeping nonstop. And then yesterday he was like, all right, I'm back to normal and I'm going to do things. And I can't do anything with him and I can't let him chew on balls and whatnot for a couple of weeks. Because one of my really good friends here in Ambridge got married yesterday. So a few of his close friends, we had kind of like a bachelor get together Thursday night and they came to my house. Had a campfire. They had a bunch of extra seats when family didn't make it. So he invited a few of us to their dinner after the rehearsal on Friday night and then the wedding and reception last night. And it was in a pavilion with a tent attached to it. So kind of chilly, which I know those of you that were at the game also experienced. So just really great to celebrate with him and his wife. They're great people. He's been a good friend for about 3 years. So yeah.
I completely forgot about Rory. You had sent us pictures and some of the photos of Rory on meds. If you ever go online and look up like dogs on meds, and they're just
hilarious.
Like the big eyes and the gaze where they're just kind of like swaying into stuff. It was hysterical. So
yeah, I got a video of him that first night. He was sitting here in the chair in my office that he looks out the window, and he was just trying to like do his normal thing, like look out the window, observe the world. And he kept like starting to doze off and doze off and doze off. About 10 minutes after I sent the video to you all, he did fall asleep and almost fell off the chair.
Oh, good times. Josh, you guys were at the marathon today, yeah?
Yeah, we were at the marathon, not running in the marathon. No way. But we pretty much every year now we've been going down with some friends. We hang out on the Weston Bridge and hand out like food for the runners, cuties and figs and pretzels, and cheer them on. We have signs, go everyone, that kind of stuff, and just pretty much just be loud and try to support. And it was great because we also got to see Justin, because Justin was in the race, so he ran by and we said hi to him, and our other friend Unsa was in it, so it was cool to see people we know and just kind of just hang out and do the thing.
Nice. Did Justin have his Fortitude shirt on?
I don't remember.
Okay, all right.
I couldn't tell you.
So for those of you who were at the game last night, there was this running gag where a few episodes back we had Robbie Mertz on as like a guest host, and Laura Ellen did her "Hey Sir," where she questioned the team's fortitude, which then led to Robbie using the phrase fortitude like 6 more times during the episode. So we were joking, and this is going to lead into kind of our next topic here. We were joking that, we should create shirts or something that say, I broke up, instead of the actual full word fortitude, I put Fort A apostrophe tude, almost like Fort Attitude, but if you read it, it's fortitude. And now we also have stickers as well. So if Liz does accost you to do a full 90 or something else, she has fortitude stickers that she can give you, and you guys can slap those things all over the place. Do whatever them, nice. Do with them what you will. But part of the reason why we were like, we should make this a thing is one of the topics that we did want to discuss tonight. So last week we had Rob Vincent on, and we wanted to make it all about Rob. Of course, when you have their time, you want to use as much of their time as you can. But that week, so not this past week, but the week before, it was announced that Highmark Stadium is no more. That now the formerly known Highmark Stadium is now known as F&B Stadium. All of the signage is up as F&B. Highmark has vanished from the ether. Josh, I think you know a little bit about sort of like what went down with all this. I don't know how much we can disclose or not, but why don't you share what you're comfortable with as to how we ended up with F&B?
I mean, really, it's just the fact that the naming rights have been kind of up in the air for a while now. We've known that they're going to change the name and get new sponsor before the season even started. So it's just been a while. Like we kind of knew this was happening. I think actually we might have found out 2 years ago. I don't know. But they've been shopping around for a while, and this one came up. If you look at the details about it, it goes, I want to say 2031 or something like that. Or do you remember what the date is?
I don't remember the actual end date, no, but it does continue into sort of what would be the USL Premier,
which is why like the whole idea was like, hey, you're gonna be paying a little bit for that as well, because the stadium's gonna be a lot bigger. It's gonna be a bigger deal to have that name. So I'm hoping they got a great deal for it. But yeah, so part of that is like you can't call it Fort Highmark anymore. So like, what are we gonna call the stadium? And a lot of people, myself included, were like, we just call it the Fort, just the Fort, and drop any branding off that, so that way it's a little bit more evergreen. It also reminds me kind of like the Igloo back in the day, so it's just a nice name. So fortuitous that we got the Fortitude shirt.
Did you say fortuitous, Josh?
I did actually, but I wasn't gonna call it out as much as you. But yeah, so it's kind of cool that we got Fortitude shirts, because it's now we're gonna be nicknaming it just the Fort.
The Fort. Yeah, agreed. And you'd have to imagine this probably won't be the last time in terms of our fandom for this club and this organization that the stadium will change names. If you just look at the Pens, if you look at the Steelers, going from Heinz Field to Acrisure, from Three Rivers before that. So I love the idea of coming up with just a general nickname for the stadium, and the Fort just fits. I think it's perfect. So Josh, kudos to you for coming up with that, and then we'll try to run with it. Steve, your thoughts on FNB as a new stadium partner?
I mean, I hope it's a good deal. Like, no idea what the finances are. I'd assume it's an escalating, like Josh was saying, when the Hounds are in the USL Premier. I think a lot of people kind of reacted really negatively, but I kind of like that it's a company that is investing in the city. They just built a huge headquarters tower right next to the hockey arena. And so they're here and they're invested in the city. And so going after a name that has gotten some of that recognition for what they've done over there on the stadium, I think is kind of a good thing. It adds something. And, like people that may not know who the Hounds are as well, hear about the stadium being FNB, and they're like, wait, FNB is making a bigger presence. What is this about? And so maybe that brings in a few extra people or gets people to recognize the Hounds a little bit more. So, I mean, it's a stadium name, right? Like, I don't care. Like it doesn't affect my life.
Yeah. Agreed. But, I was impressed with, the announcement came out, and now if you even try to look in Google Maps, it's no longer Highmark Stadium. It's FNB Stadium. So whoever had that task of getting all those ducks in a row, they nailed it, because Highmark is no more. So, yeah.
And the nice thing about that is I don't get directions to Buffalo.
Right. Exactly. So that was the one big piece of news. It's interesting. Like I said, if you go down there, F&B signage is all over the place. They were on top of that as well. It looks fine. It like you guys said, it's a stadium naming thing, but it is just new. So we figured we would have to talk about it. The one other piece of big news I guess two pieces of news before we get into the actual game itself. And this was part of the reason why, if you clicked on this on YouTube, or if you see this in your podcast player, we titled this a big week. It's not really about the game. It's about this news that we're about to discuss here. And that is that the Players Association reached a tentative agreement with the league. So after 60 plus meetings for negotiation, we now have an agreement in principle between the USL Players Association and the league. So up to this point, there was all of this discussion about a potential strike. I mentioned we had Robbie Mertz on for an entire show, and he kind of shared some of the things that they were fighting for. There was this underlying concern that there really could be a strike. The players had kind of their moment of solidarity that they would do at the beginning of each half all season long to kind of highlight the fact that, they do have some power in these negotiations, and that they're not just going to kind of take what the league is giving them, even to the point that we discussed it last week. Albert Dequa would have the fastest goal in Hounds history, but he does not, because they chose to stand still for a minute and then 13 seconds later he scored, as opposed to just scoring 13 seconds into the half, which we could talk about Chico after, the rest of this, because that's a whole nother thing. But guys, the highlights from what we're hearing as it relates to this negotiation is that the agreement in principle is going to last through 2030. Potentially through 2031, depending upon some of the healthcare bits that we'll get to. It guarantees 12-month contracts for the players. So previously, there were some clubs that could give guys 10-month contracts or even shorter. They could just end them prematurely. So that kind of does away with that. The general compensation for players has been increased from $34K. I'm sorry, from $31K up to $42K. There are allowed 4 entry-level spots where they would start at $34K. Some of that will fluctuate, and we can get into the more details once this thing is actually written in pen. But one of the big things was that there was additional considerations specifically for the Premier. So when we had conversations earlier, it was about how this is primarily related to the USL Championship. It wasn't even covering stuff that was going on in League One or going on in the Super League. And it sounds like as conversations continued, it expanded, and a big piece of this was the Premier that started to come into the conversation as well. So now the minimum salary for a player in the Premier will be $67K a year, and they will still have kind of those 4 entry-level spots that will be for $50K. So as you kind of work your way up the tiers, then obviously you would be able to make at least a higher base level. And those salaries, those basically include at this point, for those who don't know right now, a lot of the salaries are like a bundled package where they say, yeah, we'll pay you the salary, but we're going to take so much out for your housing. We're going to take so much out for your healthcare. We're going to take so much out for different expenses. So the actual money that you get at the end of things it may not be that big at all. Whereas now they're saying that base salary will really just include salary and housing, health insurance and bonuses are in addition to that, which is good. No mid-season buyouts, which is good. The players will get the same healthcare that is offered to other front office employees, which is huge. There is the potential that the league could come around and provide their own healthcare to players, which is where, if that happens, then this contract would be extended to 2031, not just 2030. And then really the biggest outstanding thing that they're kind of choosing to, I believe, again, this is all speculation. We'll know more once it is written in pen. But the whole conversation about the name, image, and likeness, or what is referred to as NIL, is still to be finalized USL wide. So they're discussing this outside of the agreement, as far as we know. I mentioned to you guys, I talked to Robbie a little bit after the game, and I said, do you want to come on? Let's talk about all the things you got. And he said, well, it still needs to be ratified. It still needs to be voted on, but it feels like it's in a very good spot. So the goal is we'll have him in probably in a few weeks once everything is, like I said, written in ink and it's done, and we'll get all the details. But Steve, obviously this was a huge weight on everybody's shoulders, not just fans, obviously, players whose lives were somewhat in the balance because they didn't know if they were going to strike or not. They had authorized the negotiating team to strike if they felt it was necessary. But, guys like Robbie, guys who were on the actual negotiating committee, who, in addition to trying to play, were spending all of this time in a room trying to hash this out with the league. What are your impressions about everything that's sort of come out thus far?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the deal for players overall looks really, really good. The surprise of them bringing in things about USL Premier is really nice to see, and to see that that's actually a substantial difference in baseline pay. I also think it probably was the big thing that the players union agreed on, was to not get something for the name, image, likeness in this. But it seemed like that was one of the big things that was probably holding things up from their side. And so I kind of wonder if them dropping that then put the ownership league kind of on the hot seat, because it's like, okay, well, like, hey, let's talk about this in a separate thing, league wide. We'll figure that out later. No, there were still a few teams that were for a long time holding out on compensation and on healthcare. And so my understanding is there's a lot of obfuscation that us as fans know about our teams. I mean, I had penned an open letter to Tuffy and the front office a couple months ago. And then talked to some people like, yeah, you're actually being really generous. And there are some of these things that you think are happening that aren't happening. So knowing that this is an improvement for the players on the Hounds as well, not just in the compensation, but in some of those other areas, I think is really, really good, because I think the Hounds can figure out how to do the compensation, but that they're also getting something else out of it that they weren't getting is really nice.
Yeah. Josh, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, I feel like this actually turned out really well for the players. I don't really see very much in here at all that feels like the players really took a hit on. So that's great to see. Obviously, it has to be ratified and everything like that. And I am curious now, like the people who were holding out, the clubs that were holding out, like if they kind of, had to give in, what happens next for those clubs or anything like that. Because I'm sure they're like, oh, we're not going to be able to do it because if we do, we'll fold. We won't be able to survive. Like, okay, well, now we'll see if you survive. And I bet you most of them will, if not all of them. And just, I don't know, this is part of us becoming a better league, a bigger league, a more legitimate league. Like, you want to see this, and this has to happen. So if you can't make it happen, then there's problems with the structure of the league itself. That's just, point blank of it all is just, if you can't do these basic things, then maybe you shouldn't be a league. So the fact that they have health insurance now, mandatory, that's huge. That was like the biggest thing in here that I was like, man, they don't have mandatory health insurance for like professional soccer players. Like, how's that possible? So that was a huge deal to me, at least, that I'm glad to see they got figured out.
Yeah. I mentioned how we had Robbie on a few weeks ago, and one of the things that he was kind of stressing was that this wasn't just for the good of the players, but they had kind of the league's interest in mind and the team's interest in mind. And I know that that's really kind of like coming from the players are like, okay, sure. But I think when you look at specifically what they're asking for, what this provides is a level of stability and security that, there were former players who have come out and basically said that they could have continued playing, but they quit because they weren't able to, have proper health insurance. They weren't able to make enough money while living in an apartment with 4 other roommates to, set themselves up to be successful in the future. And this is a scenario where it feels like if you have these pieces in place, not only is this going to make it more attractive for players to come play in this league, so therefore you kind of grow the league, but it also provides a level of stability, like you guys said, where if you have a team that can't meet these basic minimums, then maybe you shouldn't be a team, because there's going to be other areas that you're going to be fluctuating on as well that could cause you to go the way of having the fold because you can't actually sustain yourself. So I do think that this is a good thing overall. I think this is huge. I think that this is going to really kind of set things up for the long term. And the fact that they're getting this in place for the premiere before the premiere is even a thing is a really, really good sign, because we know that with the championship, with League One, that the Players Association came after both of those leagues were established, and therefore the players themselves are kind of chasing their tail a little bit to try to get ahead of it. And now that they're able to have an agreement in place before the league even becomes a thing, that makes it even clearer for teams that want to come into the Premier to understand what is going to be required of them in order to maintain a successful program. And so that's huge. So, Robbie was kind of beaming ear to ear last night, even after the fact that, the guys did lose 1-0 just because of all of the work and effort that went into it. So a huge kudos to him and all the people on the negotiating committee and all the players. And hopefully this thing gets signed and done and we're good to go. So guys, any other thoughts or comments about the USLPA at this point and the agreement that's now in place or will be in place?
I mean, I just think like this is a huge step, right? Like, obviously the numbers are not comparable. I haven't plugged it into a calculator to kind of see the difference of what the money can buy. But what we're sitting at for looking forward to Premier in particular, but even where we are with Championship, 42.67. In 1996, when MLS started, the base salary for a first-year player was $24,000, right? And so I don't think that's quite 67, right? Like I don't have the math, but but this is putting the Premier in a good spot in terms of where it's starting compared to where a league that they're chasing started out. So who knows what that means for the future? But it's just like, okay, yeah, like it's a livable wage.
Yeah. Agreed. Liz made the comment, I'm assuming that this is in relation to me saying that Robbie was beaming ear to ear. She said it was because of the prize, obviously. So this kind of provides us with a segue into our next topic. So for those of you who know, and we continue to do this, every game we go through and we pick the top 3 players and we rank them by points. And then at the end of the season, whoever has the most points becomes our Mongols Player of the Year. Well, last year was the first year that we had done that. Robbie Mertz ended up winning. He had the most points. And so all off season, we were like, we got to get some award. What should we do? Which we don't know. What do we do? We kind of batted it around. And then when Robbie was on the show, we were just like, what do you want? We got to give you something. And he was the one who was just like, it's kind of we're kind of a goofy podcast, fun thing. He said, if you do something too serious, that it's like too serious and like nobody will actually like it. So try to do something fun. So we settled on, because the USL is kind of what it is. And there are certain things that you don't necessarily see as it relates to players in other leagues, especially over in Europe, where you might have, video games with player likenesses, or you have kind of stats ratings that you have those big cards for. You also don't have stickers or player cards here for all of the players. And so we said, wouldn't it be cool if we made almost like a baseball card for the winner? And we highlight the fact that they were the Mongols Player of the Year. And so what we did was we created what basically I'm putting on screen now, basically a player card for Robbie Mertz. It's a 1-of-1. There are no duplicates. It is just his to have. And it's inside a nice hard plastic case. It says Mongols Player of the Year 2025. On the back, we said something about, the Jagoffs over at Mongols voted you the 2025 Player of the Year. It has a nice little stand with it. So after the game last night, we presented it to Robbie. He was pretty excited about all of it. So we'll get his thoughts and see where it ends up in his house when we have him back on here. But it was a cool little thing. And I kind of, I think the idea of doing a little card like that is fun. It's not a traditional trophy. It's not like, something that you need to necessarily put in a trophy case. You can kind of put it anywhere, but just a little reminder that like, hey, we thought you did a good job. Thanks for doing a good job. And go from there. So Josh, you were there. It was a fun moment.
Yeah, it was great. And Liz mentioned in the comments, but after we gave it to him, he looked at it. He was like, "Hey, can someone hold on to this for me? Because I don't, he's signing autographs. Yeah. He has no pockets or anything like that." Yeah. So we handed it over to his dad because his dad was behind him, and he was like looking at it like, "This is really cool." Like he thought it was really fun as well. But it's kind of also bearing another lead. You were actually at the game. You were there with the kids, and Laura Ellen and Justin, and their kid was there. So yeah, it was nice to actually have the Mongols family partially there, since Steve couldn't make it since he was at the Bachelor thing, and Drew couldn't make it either. So we'd have everyone there, but it was good that you guys who are normally not at the game were able to make it.
Yeah, it was really fun. We went, we took the scouts rock climbing at Ascend over in Point Breeze, which was a blast. And then we were like, well, we're in town. So one of the other families that we went with, we were like, do you guys want to go to the game? And they were like, yeah. So we went. We knew that, Justin and Laura Ellen would be there. So we didn't sit with the Steel Army. We sat in another section with this family. But at halftime, I was like, we're going to go take a walk. And so we went around. We found Laura Ellen. And then I came over and I saw you guys. And then it hit me. I was like, I don't know where Justin is. And at that very moment, Raina Jean, which is Justin and Laura Ellen's daughter, had like little headphones on to like block out the noise. I see her walking towards me, and she's just like doing this like little dance in her head, like no idea what's going on. And she just like walks past me. And I had this moment. I was like, maybe she knows where Justin is. So I like turned around and like stalkishly like followed her, as she's like no idea I'm there. She's like walking up the bleachers and like making random left turns and like so eventually I see Justin like flagging me down, but I felt really creepy for a hot minute.
You should.
I was like, this is all in like good spirit. If she goes somewhere else, I'm walking away, but like maybe she knows. And I didn't want to be like, hey, you know me, because like she probably doesn't remember
you.
So it was a good time. And then I saw Peter was there working at one of the merch booths, and I pretended to just grab everything on the table and run. And he just looked at me, he was like, no, don't do that.
How about no?
I wish we've talked about this before. At one point, my wife was like, we should get season tickets. And I was like, I would love to get season tickets. But at this point, living an hour and a half away with everything else going on with the kids, it's just not feasible. Once the kids are like out of the house and we have more of like our time, it will become much more of a serious consideration. But
you can work up to it. You can do like a flex pass where you get like, 5-game or 3-game pass, just to, don't commit yourself to the Summer of the Hounds where you have to come into the stadium 4 times a month, up to 5 times a month, depending on if we have a weekday game.
Yeah. It was a great one to come to. I know we're kind of like jumping past the game, but afterwards I walked up to Luke Biasi and I just looked at him and I said 5.1, man. And he was like, come on. And then we caught up for like 2 or 3 minutes. But
you didn't kidnap him for me, Mike.
I did not kidnap him. No, I talked to him for a while, and then because Luke had been here for so long, there were other kids that he knew that were like coming up like Luke, and like he was like giving them a hug and stuff. So yeah, it was a good time. Yeah. Plus, there was a moment we were standing in the concession line, and my youngest son, I see him just like staring off in the distance, but I could see the gears turning in his head, and I was like, "What?" And he goes, is there a theme tonight? And as you look around, there's multiple people walking around dressed from Austin Powers because it was Austin Powers night.
Does he know what Austin Powers is?
He knows what Austin Powers is, but like somehow the fact that it was Austin Powers night completely escaped him. So he's seeing people dressed as Dr. Evil and dressed as Austin Powers just randomly walking around the stadium. I should have been like, no, this is normal. But yeah, I was like, yeah, it's Austin Powers night. He was like, okay, that makes so much more sense. And I was like, yeah.
Ammo's in like a crushed velvet purple.
Which like, I want to know, where do they get that for ammo? Like that has to be custom, but like, who do you call? Like, we need a purple crushed velvet jumpsuit for ammo. Somebody out there has to know. You got to tell me, because I feel like there's this like little sub niche somewhere that's making a killing just making costumes for mascots.
I would like to think like, I know this isn't true, but just like calling up a regular like clothing store, be like, yeah, I need like a 10X of a crushed velvet tuxedo, please.
It's a human-sized dog.
Yeah, these dimensions. And like the person's like, this doesn't make sense for a person.
But yes, it was a very good time. I also felt kind of bad because the people that we were there with, the family we were there with, they knew, like, as we were walking in, they were like, so what's your like affiliation with the team? I think it's like this big question mark out here in Ligonier where people are like, you do something, but like, what do you do? So I like gave them the lowdown. And then at one point, as we were walking back from halftime, like I saw multiple mics who were like high-fiving me. Jesse walks past, we do a fist pound, and they're like, who the hell are you? Like, how do you know all these people? And I'm like, I'm just trying to be nice, guys, but I'm here to have fun. I'm sorry. So yeah, thanks to everybody who said hello, and yeah, we always have a good time. Glad to say hello and high five and all of that. Guys, let's Well, let's see what Justin said here. He said, "Love you guys. Wish I could have joined you, but the half just about killed me today. Great to see you last night, Mike. Great to see you last night and this morning, Josh. Sorry to miss you, Steve." Yeah, Justin. Part of the reason why they were in was Justin did the half marathon this morning, Josh, as you said. But then they turned around and drove home. So not only did you do the half, they then drove the couple hours to get back to Lebanon, PA. So big day for them.
That's
sure.
a lot to do in one day.
That is a lot. Guys, let's talk about the game. So we did lose one thing to Phoenix. In terms of the lineup is getting closer to what we've kind of seen consistently, especially now that we know that Beto and Guy have been out with injury. You had Nico in goal, Kelp, Souza, McCoy, Vieira across the back. Walty was kind of back in that holding midfielder position. You had Goldthorpe, Bassett, Griffin, and Mertz kind of as your attacking mids, and then you had Chico up top. Josh, give me a takeaway from the game itself.
It was not great. Just as a whole, the game kind of felt pretty even, back and forth the whole time. I feel like stats wise, it's pretty much across the board even. There are, like, in the attack, it did feel like we had a little bit more chances, but watching it live, all the chances we had, except for like maybe one, felt pretty just meh. Like it never felt like we really tested the keeper all that much.
Yeah.
A lot of just stray shots, and I actually was taking a little bit of walk in the second half, and I was talking to Peter at said merch stand, and he was like, "How's it looking?" Because he can't see the game since he's facing away. I was like, it's one of those games where it feels like no one's going to score. Then someone's going to make a mistake. There's going to be one goal, and then the game's over. And that was like 5 minutes before it happened, where we got scored on. I went back to the stands. I'm like, there's that goal I was talking about. And this is where the game's going to be for the rest of the time. And it was like, the 60-something minute where it's just like, yep, this is just how it's going to be for the rest of this game, 1-0. And sure enough. So it was not exactly thrilling of a game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Steve, give me a takeaway.
I mean, we need to be doing more offensively. I didn't get to obviously watch all of the game live. Caught some of the first half, checking in on my phone here and there during the reception. Shh, don't tell anybody, please. And then got home, left, and most of the drive was during halftime. So I was able to watch the entire second half. And just my big thing is it's like we had chances and we had opportunities in the box, but just quite not enough quality. And I think my other big thing is just like some of the player selection for me just isn't working with the way that we're lining up right now. I think putting a guy that looks like a wingback in a back four, just I don't like it.
Say name, Steve.
Vieira.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like if Alala Samano doesn't start in Louisville and we do a back four, then I don't know what's going on because he didn't touch the field, but he should have won that spot last night.
Yeah. Josh, you mentioned kind of an error, not to dig him out, but the error came from Vieira. It was kind of a scramble play in the back, and I think it was Souza kind of got ahead and flicked it towards Vieira, and then rather than either protecting the ball or trying to go the other way, Vieira tried to play it back to Souza, but at that point, there was a man already on Souza, and the guy basically picked it up and I don't want to say dribbled it into the net, but basically took it straight in, took a shot, and it was in. And that was it. That was the goal. And so he had a couple of moments that weren't great. I think that there is some validity to, especially for a young guy, trying to give him the time and space to kind of play through moments like that. And you kind of take your lumps and you learn from them. But Steve, to your point, I think that there are times where you also need to kind of lean on the guys that may give you a little bit something more. And try to maybe get some of those moments at other spaces. So Yeah, it's tough, but I agree in terms of a takeaway. If you actually were to just go back and watch the highlights, I think you would think like, well, we probably look like the better team. I think we probably had 3 or 4 chances. There was one in particular that Chico put just wide of the post. Danny had one that went just over the crossbar, and then he tried a semi bicycle-ish kick at one point as well. So we were getting into positions, and I think on another day, a draw would be a fair result in this one. I think the way that teams were playing, which is why I'm not that upset about this. Like, I think if this was a game where we dominated in all aspects and then, they caught us on a counter, I might be a little bit more upset, but this could have been, easily, like I said, a draw. So at least from a performance standpoint, it felt like it was there. It just, the ball just didn't go in the net. So, but is that, am I being too laissez-faire about this, Steve? Do you think that we should be more demanding?
I want to see better from the team. But this is kind of what I expected to see in terms of the actual play. A team that is pretty level with us in terms of where they are in the West. Their wins, losses, some of their stats and whatnot. Like a team that I think is a good analog for the Hounds right now. That I expected it to be a tight game. I expected both teams to be pretty good defensively and to have moments, but maybe not a ton of moments offensively. And that's kind of what happened. I just want to see some growth and development. And I think it's still, for me, early enough that there are moments where, like we can talk about the things that Max didn't do well. But you're right, he's young. My thing is it just that the league is too fast for him right now and he needs to get up to speed? That's kind of how I felt with some of those plays, right? Like when he gave up that ball, it's just like, oh, you're not used to that type of pressure. There's a guy coming behind you with a lot more pace than I think you've seen before. And then I think Goldthorpe as well, just like learning to make some better decisions at this level consistently. There were times where he had options and went himself that I would have liked him to see him distribute the ball to, like, say, a Robbie or Sam Bassett or a Chico, and instead driving it right into a defender's body.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I was going to say, just on Vieira, there was a couple of moments where he found himself in like the center of the box making diving headers. And I was like, what? Like, where did you come from? Like, you're supposed to be way out there. What are you doing? So I get it. Go ahead, Josh. What were you about to say about Goldthorpe?
Well, I was going to mention the Vieira header because it felt like almost like him trying to make up. Like I'm so sorry, I messed up. I'm gonna get this goal, and it's like, I don't know if you should be the one getting that goal. I mean, good on you for trying it, I guess. And then as far as Goldthorpe goes, he's such an interesting player because, like, I watch him and I like a lot, like 90% of what he's doing. I'm like, this is cool. He's doing some great passing. He's doing some like good footwork. It's just like that decision making. Every once in a while, you're like, "Oh, what was that reasoning?" And like, I also do kind of like that he can get greedy about taking a shot because I feel like this team, especially this year, is very much a dump it to the left or the right, and then back, and then just trying to get the cross in and hoping for the best. So I kind of like seeing someone take it down the middle or just go for it because we don't do that enough. I don't feel like it's just, if you're going to do it, you better have it be on target and it better have pace, and his did not have pace or were on target sometimes. So that was the issue. Like, I want to see it, but if you do it, you gotta at least full commit. And then that sitter that Dequa missed, oh man, I talked to him a little bit about it after the game, and he was just like, I can't believe it. Like, it got to me and it was there. And I swung and it just went wide. Like, he was just in disbelief. He does not it's one of those things I think as a striker, especially, you're just like, how do I not make that? So he just didn't get good contact on the ball. And it just, there were some chances that don't feel as impressive as they were because of the fact that the follow through wasn't there on the ball. Like, if they would have actually made the keeper make those saves, I feel like this game would feel a lot better. But the fact that they didn't still makes me more disappointed than not. Even not just disappointed that we didn't win or get the draw. It's just disappointed that I didn't see that much action actually going towards the goal and making good shots.
Yeah. I had to laugh I was going to say, just when you were talking to Chico, I had to laugh last night. You and I were just chatting and he walked past and I was like, hey, you going to win the Golden Boot this year? And he was like, of course. He just stopped. He's like, of course.
Of course.
And I said, what? I was like, what's the difference between Rhode Island and here? And he looked at you and he was like, this guy, like giving me crap.
Can you believe this guy?
Yeah, can you believe this guy? Sorry, Steve. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, like, you're right, Josh, in that we took 9 shots, 2 of them were on target. But I also think, like, I try to keep in mind that, like, went into this season excited for what can be and excited about this group of players, but recognizing we're a team in transition. We're a team with a new coaching staff, some really important players leaving and some other players coming in trying to make their mark, and starting to see some of those things happen because it didn't quite work out. I mean, it was Trevor Amon got blocked by the defender right before the whistle. But to see him and Chico in the box and Chico flick the header right to his feet and him try to get the shot off, right? Like, that's something that I don't think we've seen since Steven Dos Santos was on the team, a player that could do that and have someone else that they're trying to hit with that ball. And I mean, it was like really like Nico Brett and Steven Dos Santos level of interplay between two forward attacking players that we just haven't seen. And I like that aspect of it. And so, sure, wanted to get the win, right? We didn't even get the draw. Concerns about some players playing in certain positions, but overall, it's like I'm starting to see this team get into a mindset that is different, and I don't know where that leads, but I'm excited to see that journey.
Yeah. One of my other takeaways kind of piggybacks off of something that Justin put in the comments. 29 fouls. That's one every 3 minutes or so. Neither team could get into the flow of the game. I did not think that the ref in this case was good. Feels harsh. We don't have a hey sir because Laura Ellen, I'm sure, has been in the car all day, or she was at the marathon this morning, but I'm assuming she would have probably said something about the ref. Just very inconsistent. There were a lot of calls that should have been legit calls. There were a lot of calls that weren't made that, and then there were questionable ones that were made that probably shouldn't have been made. And it just felt very choppy. And to Justin's point, it was tough for any team to get into a rhythm. I should have asked Chico about his head, because at one point he ended up sprawled out in the middle of the box, and on the big screen they actually cut away to something else, so you couldn't see what was like going on with him. And we were like, is he okay? Is he moving? Like, we can't even see. And so he took a beating last night for sure.
The biggest thing, it wasn't consistent. Like, I just like, if you're gonna call a lot, that's fine to me, because like everyone knows that after a certain number of plays, you're like, okay, it's going to be a tight game. Like, we're going to have to like play clean and no one can get away with anything. But then it's just the fact that like some calls were made, some calls weren't made. So it didn't, I don't want to say it felt like one team or the other team got picked on more. No. It just felt like random. Like, sometimes this is called, sometimes it's not. I don't know. We'll find out. And it was the fact that no one could get like a sure footing of this game. None of the players could. It really did feel like everyone was on pins and needles, like just like, walking on eggshells. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, what can we get away with here? Like, I don't know. It really did disrupt the flow of play. With that said, I don't know if I think the result would be different because the fact that we never did really get great shots on goal, that's in the end, that's the biggest issue in my head. Right. Not so much that the officiating made that harder or easier, because it did the same for the other team as well.
Yeah. I mean, back to that whole idea of like, I would have taken a draw. I didn't think they really had too many great opportunities either. No. I thought that Sousa and McCoy and Kelp did a really good, and Vieira at times too did a really good job of keeping the shots away from Nico. So I don't know, Steve, you were kind of watching a lot of the stuff on the screen. Did you get that same feeling in terms of the flow, or did you see it any differently?
I mean, I definitely had that feeling when I was watching the second half. It was hard to see that fully as I was scrolling through the things I missed in the first half this morning. Right, like yes, for me it was because I watched part, was checking in, and then tried to fill in the gaps this morning. So it was really, really chopped up in the first half. I think more though. I think what I find frustrating is Justin's right. Like 29 fouls is a lot of fouls in a game. It was split down the middle, 14-15. But I think my expectation is find a way to do something still. And I actually feel like we were finding the ways to do something other than just getting the ball on frame and in the back of the net. Like I wasn't actually terribly disappointed with the way the flow of the game was, with how we were building up and how we were getting the ball into the box and towards the attacking third. It was just that last little bit wasn't there. And that's kind of what I mean of like, I see some of these things starting to take shape. So I want to see where it leads.
Yeah, that's fair. Guys, any other takeaways from this one before we do our top three?
Top three. All right. Okay.
We'll throw one more comment up here so you guys have a chance to think about your top three. Mark Meat 691 said, interesting game last night. Felt there really wasn't much in it until the goal. I like a lot of our passing at 0-0, but we went behind it. Felt a lot more long ball direct and couldn't connect. Also felt there wasn't the urgency needed those last 10 minutes. I would agree with that. So thank you, Mark, for the feedback.
Yeah. Something I kind of thought about and hadn't remembered until just now, but I guess I'll just hey, Rob, if you want to talk about it, I'll talk about it with you, but bringing Amon in when he did, why was he not on 10 minutes earlier? You're chasing the game. Why are you waiting so long? Let's not keep those habits of the past, please.
Fair enough. We'll have him on back in a month or two, and you can ask him to his face, and we'll see what he says.
I'll talk to him in Charlotte.
I was like, Vincent at a practice, me and you, parking lot. Let's go.
He could catch me too.
Oh man. I will say, for those of you who did not hear that episode, the feedback that everyone has given has been fantastic, and we agree. The how candid Rob Vincent is willing to be in those conversations. We told him it's like unmatched anywhere in professional sports, and he loves it. Like we were texting afterwards, he was like, "I want to do it again. Let's go." So really, really good stuff. If you've not heard that, go back and check that out.
Yeah.
And if you have questions for him, send them our way, and we'll make sure that we ask him live on air, and we'll put him in the hot seat. Guys, let's do top three. Steve, I'll let you go first in this one.
For me, best on the field was Lasse Kelp.
Ooh, okay, so Kelp was who the team put out as like their player of the game as well. We talked a little bit about Kelp a few weeks back, and I don't want to say he came out of nowhere, but I felt like I'm seeing him more and more, and I'm liking what I see. So I think
I think I had mentioned this a few weeks ago. His first game was, and actually Rob talked about this, I think as well, was in Open Cup. And it was like 2 days after his visa got approved, his work visa. So they had been really excited about him. They really liked him in training, but he just wasn't able to be on the field legally. So they put him in the fire right away, and his quality, I think, has shown really well.
Yeah. Josh, give me another name.
Okay, so I'm waffling here between two, but I know we kind of said some negative things about Goldthorpe this game, but I also thought Goldthorpe was doing a lot this game. He seems to be doing a lot most games.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Goldthorpe.
Okay. I'm curious, who was the other one that you were waffling between?
Walty, I feel like what he was doing is a little bit more unsung. Like he's not, he's not attacking, but he is distributing, and he's, mopping up, and it felt like he was hustling out there. And that's a thing where I feel like kind of goes unsung a lot of the times. And I mentioned him after the game. Like, I thought you had a great game. Like, you were doing a lot.
Yeah.
I think as well, what, now that you bring him up, his performance last night, what he really was really good at was ensuring that Phoenix was not getting a lot of the ball in the center of the field. Yeah. So that's why I think Kelp was able to shine, because he was able to shut his side down because he had a lot of work to do. And that's why the goal came from the other side, because he just was giving nothing up. And so Phoenix all night long was looking to try to avoid him.
Yeah, agreed. I really like Walty in that holding midfielder position. And I think one of the things we've talked about in the past is that, and this gets back to the whole Luke Biasi thing, if they're doing their job right, you don't notice them. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a case where we did notice him, but it wasn't because he was bad. It was because he was doing his job well. So I like Walty as a shout. The other one that I was going to throw out was DG, just because I felt like any attack was sort of coming from him picking up the ball and dribbling it into the midfield and like putting pressure on the defense. He was in on that rush on that cross that came in from Robbie that made its way to Chico. He had that like quasi bicycle kick. He put the ball slightly over the bar in the first half. So I just felt like if anything was going to come out of the attack, it was going to start with him. Mm-hmm. But I could throw his name out there for any game. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't include him in the list. But I guess my question is we got Kelp, Goldthorpe. I think Walty is a good shot too. Which one of those four, if we throw DG in that mix, don't make our top three?
I think it has to be Goldthorpe for myself. Like I think DG was doing that plus more of what Goldthorpe was doing. Okay. Is what I'm saying. So I think if we want DG in there, I think that makes the most sense.
Steve, do you disagree with that?
No. I mean, I was not thinking Walty. I think that is a great shout, and Agreed. Reflecting back, he is not flashy and was not flashy, but was just a complete rock in that midfield. So he has to stay in. I mean, and I really like Kelp, so that leaves Goldthorpe as the odd man out.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I think there's some honorable mentions too. Like I said, I thought Souza and McCoy both had really big games too, and I think the more time that they get together, I think they could end up being a really strong center back pairing. McCoy's just a friggin' house. Like, he's just a big dude, and so like it makes it difficult for people to get past him. But let's go with Kelp, Walty, and DG. Steve, give me an order.
DG, Kelp, Walty.
Josh, you okay with that?
Oh yeah. I'm actually surprised you put DG in front. I thought for sure you're gonna do Kelp, DG.
No. But I wanted Kelp on the list. So
that's fair.
Like,
that's fair.
DG for me, was great. He was in my top two, no matter what.
Yeah, and then I do want to say, just in case McCoy's listening, if you don't get a yellow card, I can't put you in the top three. I'm sorry. So
next week he's going to come out with a red, and you're going to be like, I said yellow. Like,
you should have paired him up with Luke to talk about how important yellows are. Right?
Hopefully, McCoy's a little bit more sturdy than Luke was. Hopefully, he's not bleeding as much as Luke was.
So that is what we think. Let us know what you think. Our top three in order will be Danny Griffin, Lasse Kelp, and Jackson Walty. So those points will get added, and potentially next season, one of those three will end up with their own player card, assuming that that's what we continue to do. It'd also be the most podcasty thing to pick something else. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Guys, the gentleman hit the road this week. We travel to Louisville on Saturday at 7 p.m. Louisville, always one of those top teams when you go into any season. And we were talking to Rob Vincent last week, and we said, who are you looking at that you like? He mentioned Tampa. He mentioned Louisville always has their stuff together. Now, Louisville did just lose 2-1 to Detroit, whom we beat 2-1. So they may not be as invincible as I think a lot of us kind of paint them to be in our minds. There's the one way that we can kind of look at Louisville and try to figure out what they may do. But at the same time, Steve, you keep saying kind of seeing these pieces come together, and we're learning more about ourselves. So I guess, Steve, is there anything in particular that you're hoping to see in this one, whether it is players or just the continuation of certain systems, or just what are you hoping for?
Yeah, no, I mean, what I think I'm looking forward to in this game is Louisville is a team that will put the back line under pressure. And with this young back line, I think that's going to be a good test. How do they deal with a team now that they're starting to get a little more established? And I mean, most of these guys were not in the lineup when we played Charleston, when we played Tampa Bay, right? And so this is the big first test for some of these guys. I think that's an important thing to be watching. How do they respond to that when they're constantly under pressure? I think as well, what formation does Rob choose to go with? I mean, like, we do know part of the back four is out of necessity. He doesn't have as much flexibility to go to a back five with both Edracht and Vactor injured. And so he's kind of tied up a little bit in that way. So he could still swing it, but does he want to? And then I think, like, if you go down, like, let's see what it looks like to put Amon on earlier and give him and Chico the chance to really try to build something, because I think that it's rare that we see two strikers on the field at the same time, unless it's like a Hail Mary in the past few years in Pittsburgh. But I'd like to see some development of what does it look like to do that and do that well over time, so that is another option.
Yeah. To your point about, not only did we not have the backline that we have now when we played Charleston and Tampa, we didn't have Robbie Mertz. We didn't have Elliot Goldthorpe. We didn't have Jackson Walty playing in that holding midfield position. So this team is very different from what they were 6, 7, 8 weeks ago. I forget how many games it is after Ariana scolded me for looking at the standings or looking at the table last night, because we don't look at the table until 10 games in. So I forgot to even see how many games we're in. But there's definitely a lot of change, and so this is almost a brand new team. Josh, is there anything
you said last week 7 games was why we had Rob on? So about a third of the way through the season. Was that okay. 7 league games?
Yes, it was 7 league games.
So this would have been 8.
So this would have been 8. So we got 2 more. So we got Louisville plus 1, and then we're technically allowed to look at the table. Ariana. So Josh, what are you hoping to see from this one?
I mean, honestly, a point. I just want to see us be able to go in there and hold it down. I don't know how exactly the scoreline is going to end up, but I do think the focus should be on just surviving. Because Louisville is a good team. Sure, they have 2 losses on the season right now, but it's one of those situations where, like, draw away. That's the goal, especially against a top of the league table team in the table. So I just want to see them hold it down, and actually getting shots on goal would be nice, even if we're holding it down. I'm hoping we can hold them to a 0-0. But I got a feeling that's probably not going to happen. So we're going to have to score a goal. I just want to actually see some confident shots on target.
I kind of want to follow up on kind of what you're saying there, Josh. Go for it all, guys. Right? Like guys, if you are listening, there's a lot of you that weren't here at this point, right? Like, we may call our stadium the Fort, but that's our house in Louisville, because we have the first ever win in that stadium. So I'm just saying, guys, go do it again.
I don't disagree with Steve, but I think to Josh's point, at least in my mind, I think a point is a good result here for us.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's good for us, and I think it's bad for Louisville, because I think Louisville, they expect to win the majority of the games that they're in. So I think if you can go in there and you can frustrate them and you can get out with at least a point, I'm happy with that result, regardless of kind of how it shakes out. Because let's face it, the end of the season, we're expecting Louisville to be in the top 4. They're gonna have a home playoff game. So to kind of put yourself in that conversation, keep yourself in that conversation. I know as of last week, we were in 4th place. I don't know where we are now, but we'll find out in 3 weeks. Yeah, that's a good result in my mind. So let's do some score predictions. I think I always go last. I'll go first. I will say I'll say 1-1. I would love to see us get a shutout. I just don't know if we have the stability, especially across the back yet, to make that happen against a team like Louisville. I think there's other teams that I'm starting to feel more confident to say that a shutout is realistic. I think we could have got a shutout last night if it wasn't for a mental error. But that's just kind of the league where it is right now. So I will say 1-1. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess I could see us not having the fortitude for a 0-0, but no, I was actually originally going to say 1-1 as well.
Okay. Steve?
I mean, I got to be a little different, don't I? So let's go 0-0.
Okay.
So different. So different.
I said a little different, Josh.
All right. So we're all picking a draw. That is what we think. Let us know what you think. You guys leave a comment with what your score prediction is. I feel like at one point we had like a whole score prediction game thing going, and we gave away tickets, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think we gave away season tickets to whoever had the most. I feel bad starting that 8 games in. So
yeah,
maybe
let's not
figure out. Let's not
next season. Don't come up with ideas on the fly during the podcast. We could do a Fortitude t-shirt to like the winner if we wanted to do something like that. Let's do this. Let's see if anybody actually does. Go into the comments. Liz's point too. It was a lot of work to track. I forgot about that. It was a lot of work to keep track of everybody's score predictions. Put your score predictions in the comments anyway. And then like, if you have suggestions for how we can track this or who could win stuff, leave them there too. And maybe we'll read them out and we'll figure out something. I want to give away some stuff. So let's figure out some way to give away some stuff. And a Fortitude t-shirt is great. So yeah, that is what we think. Let us know what you think. Guys, anything else before we get out of here in this one?
No.
Nope. Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. I always appreciate the conversation. Thank you to everybody who watched or listened or said hello at the game last night. It's always fun. We love coming out. We appreciate any and all feedback. Do leave a comment on the video. Let us know what you think. If you're happy with the show, make sure that you share it with a friend, whether you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is you get your podcasts. It absolutely helps in terms of helping to grow the show and growing the conversation. Getting more thoughts and getting to share those thoughts with the coaches and the front office and the players. It only helps to strengthen the whole community around the team. The teams and all of that. Speaking of, just subtly dropping in, apparently the Riveters are going to be releasing a new mascot soon. So,
that's right.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. I'm sure we will talk about that. And as we get closer to Riveter season, we will have more Riveters content for you as well. But yeah, thanks everybody. We will be back with more Hounds content for you very, very soon.
Later.
See ya.